Hi, everybody. My name is Tony No, and I'm the co-founder and co-CEO and chairman of Everest Education. Just quick question here. How many of you guys have ever been to Vietnam? All right, one. So we are the trailblazers, I think, in personalized learning, blended learning models in Vietnam. And so given the context of who's here today, I think we'll focus a lot on telling the story more about the opportunity and challenges we see in the country than a little bit about our business. So this is a snapshot of the skyline in Saigon just last year, at the end of last year. And I remember I've been in Vietnam now since 10 years, 2007. And since I've come, all of these skyscrapers have been built, with the exception of one that was there 10 years ago. And in so many ways, it is echoing the growth dynamics that we have seen in other markets, like China, with a different set of cultural dynamics, but very, very similar. And the opportunity that comes with that has been phenomenal. So for those of you guys who don't know, Vietnam happens to be the 14th largest country in the world, with a population of close to 100 million people. And they're very young, average age of only 31 years. And it's been one of the most stably fast-growing economies in the entire world as well, the second fastest, only behind China, since 1990, averaging between 6–7% pretty much year in, year out. And it's not just the overall GDP, but the GDP per capita has been phenomenal to generate a rising middle class. And that's been eye-opening for me to see. I first came to Vietnam in 1997, when it was bicycles everywhere, right? In 2007, you started seeing mopeds and motorbikes everywhere, and now it's gotten to automobiles and traffic congestion and all that. But the pace of economic development is creating a rapidly increasing middle class, very similar to what you saw in China as well. Rewind it 15 years. And so we're hitting this sweet spot in consumer demand for improving their lives and their children's lives. There's 17 million students in Vietnam, so it's not a small market by any stretch. They have incredibly strong affinity culturally towards education being the key to unlock future potential for yourself and your family. And up to 40% of discretionary income as families increase in that GDP per capita scale is invested back towards education. And in particular, unlike China, we know that we are the small fish. We are going to be friends with the West and the East, and so there's this awareness and desire, this aspiration to be internationally connected and internationally minded. So English and math are very, very important subjects for us there as well. At the same time, there is an incredibly terrible system in the state side of things. Enormous class sizes, especially if you go outside any of the big cities where, by the way, 80% of the students live. Class sizes are often enormous, over 50 students in a very traditional lecture and drill model. And as a result, you don't get the interactions, you don't get the feedback, and you don't get the student engagement. And clearly, in this kind of environment, it's very hard to differentiate any of the learning that happens, right? And I would say that the success that Vietnam often gets, for example, its success in the PISA score rankings, if you guys are following that, that success comes despite the system, not because of it. It's all the students who are going more, beyond, outside, to get additional help, either on their own or but more frequently through after-school tutoring and enrichment in order to get that, because the current system is not working. So for Everest, we deliver through our network of our own learning centers and partner schools, technology-enabled personalized learning for students in Vietnam. Here's a quick snapshot of who we are today. We have 3 learning centers. We are rapidly expanding and probably will more than double that this year, all of which currently are in Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon. For those of you who would be in country, we would call it Saigon. We've built our own learning management software to facilitate the chaos of trying to do a personalized learning in the classroom called Playbook. We deliver multiple subjects, math, English, STEAM camps, all in an after-school enrichment format. So far, we've delivered over 200,000 enrollment hours and have 80 staff, the majority of which are full-time. A little bit of context on our history. We started with a very premium consumer service. I'm Vietnamese American. My parents fled the country in 1975 as a result of the war. They thought I was crazy to go back home, but I did. But because of our personal background and educational background, we started off, my co-founder and I, focusing on the premium consumer space, students who are aspiring to go study abroad. And after several years of doing this now, we have cemented our reputation as being the go-to place for students who really want to get into the top universities or top boarding schools by preparing them with the critical thinking skills, the liberal arts style of education that is the exact opposite of that rote memorization in a way that is personalized for them. And now we are evolving. So last few years, we started working with on-campus partners. We work with more international schools, bilingual schools than anyone else, delivering services on their campuses. And then we know, though, that that still touches just the tip of the 17 million student population. So the focus for us going forward is how do we increase accessibility? So the 17 million students is the overall pie. We started in that tiny green dot, focusing on students who are at the international schools or aspiring to go abroad internationally. And of those, there's about 40,000 of those in all of Vietnam. Only less than 10,000 are estimated to be Vietnamese national citizens studying at these international schools, right? So we started with a tiny, tiny niche. We're rapidly expanding into targeting students, serving students at bilingual and the private schools, which is about 400,000 students, and growing very, very rapidly. But still, that's a drop in the bucket of the overall 17 million. But we'll stage out our expansion in that order. These slides I'll probably fly through because I think this is for everybody at this conference, this is probably a very common theme. But traditional education, especially in Vietnam, feels so much like a factory where it's either too fast or too slow. And teachers, I as a teacher trying to do this, found it so hard to try and personalize students' education, even though I try to. And if I did, it would be chaotic extremely quickly. So our solution in terms of philosophy uses separating the students out into groups. If you guys are familiar with Michael Horn's work, it's station rotations and lab rotation models in order to personalize it and group students as close together, but still leveraging the social dynamic that you get. So we have built our software that solves these problems about different materials, and I guess I'm already up out of time. So if you guys are interested to learn more, I'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much.